Okay, quick question. I just offered to send a girl I know online pictures of my Dark Warrior, and she then blocked me. Do you think that's weird? Maybe she's just not a Daredevil fan, huh? Oh well. Here's the intro. Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we're going to be looking at Mr. Matt, aka Dark Warrior, aka Black Suit Daredevil from Netflix Season 1. This is an unlicensed figure. They teased it about, God, it must be about 2 years ago. I'd absolutely completely forgotten they were even going to make this thing. It was by a company called Hot Heart. It just disappeared out of existence for a very long time. And then I suddenly got an invoice from 16kit telling me it had arrived, and I was just surprised because I'd completely forgotten I ordered it. But anyway, he's here now, and he's only about, well, 5 years too late considering the hype for Netflix Daredevil has sort of dampened. But it's nice to get a new figure anyway. So anyway, here is the box. It's just a simple black box. It's got Mr. Matt written on there, 1/6 scale collectible, Dark Warrior logo. And the logo is awful. It's very, very faintly printed. It doesn't even look very good. It does look faded. It looks like a cheap print. The logo for, I think it's Hot Heart, is really tiny. You can barely see it. It's very low res, it's not great. Turn to the side, just a simple red line, and the logo, FD007. I'm not sure what the other 6 were, but then this red line just streaks around the back, follows it round there again. Nothing at the top, nothing at the bottom. Let's open it. Gonna have to unseal the other side because it's stuck in there quite firmly. Yeah, I was really surprised when this actually got announced as coming out, because I actually thought they were going to cancel this just because it took so long. I was like, nah, this ain't never coming out. They would have done it by now if they were going to release it. And there's a slightly more elaborate box on the inside. Well, that's a little better, isn't it? Okay, so basically it looks like it's a shoebox design. It's got a picture of Daredevil in his black stealth suit there. Mr. Matt, Dark Warrior. The print is a lot better than they had on that slip sleeve. The logo down here still looks a little bit low res, but whatever. And then on the side, the picture just spreads across the back. Then you've got all your warnings on the back. If you can read Chinese, good luck to you. Nothing there, nothing up the top, and nothing at the bottom. Okay, let's open them up. And it's a shoebox design. Looks like you get some sort of cardboard cover here. Could even be a backdrop possibly. Oh, I do love me a foam insert. And then we have the figure in here. We've got an extra head sculpt. Looks like we've got a belt, probably some billy clubs, and some extra hands. Okay, I just checked the box. There's only one layer. What you see here is exactly what you're going to get. Okay, let's quickly have a look at the accessories and what he comes with. He comes with a little bit more than I would have expected for this figure to come with. He comes with an extra face mask here. I think this is for this head sculpt. So if you're posing the figure with the unmasked head sculpt, he can grip this in his hand and it makes it look like he's just pulled the mask off, which is a nice little touch, I think. He also comes with his billy clubs, which you can actually attach to the leg. I quite like the harness. I think it's okay. It's pretty much a standard 1/6 scale sort of leg holster, but it's, you know, it's not going to win any awards, but it's not going to upset you either. And then the billy clubs, and I'm a little bit disappointed by these. I know they don't have to be too detailed, but they're just 2 bits of dowel rod, and they've just painted them brown. And you can see they've actually, where they've been cutting the dowel rod off, just there, it's still rough. I know that's pretty much what it's supposed to be like anyway, but yeah, I actually did a custom kit bash. I think it was one of my first ever custom kit bashes I ever did of the black suited Daredevil when the first TV show Netflix came out. There was nothing around, and I think me and a couple of other people were actually one of the firsts to do it. I think the first week the first episode came out, I actually managed to kit bash a new figure together, and so did a few others. My billy clubs that I made, what, better. And that's not me being arrogant. I'm not very good customizer, but I definitely made better billy clubs than these, because they're just, I even had more battle damage in them, chips. There was a bit more of a dark brush in them to make them look a bit old and more used. I don't know how much more I can say. I actually did a better job than the professionals for making billy clubs. They're functional, they're okay, they'll look good in his hand, but like I said, they're not going to win any awards anytime soon. And this is the unmasked head sculpt, and yet again, There's a weird sort of paint to this that makes it look very, very flat, mildly underwhelming. It's not the worst head sculpt I've ever seen. It's just very basic, and I can see Charlie Cox in there, but I wouldn't be posing this guy with this on. It's just, if I had a choice, if I was going to use this head sculpt for anything, I'd be putting him in a suit and then sticking the biggest pair of sunglasses I could find on him to try and hide as much of that paint application as possible. Around the jawline, the 5 o'clock shadow, it's okay, but everything altogether looks a little flat. I don't know what they did, because you can see there is flecking in the skin to try and give it texture. Something happened during the paint process and it just really made this a little bit underwhelming and a bit flat. I do like that lick of hair here though, that's quite cool. The sculpt is okay. It's a bit soft in the hairlines, but that's alright. And they did get the sideburns pretty well. But yeah, I doubt many people are going to actually be posing him with this on. He also comes with a nameplate. Now this I think just goes onto the sort of normal basic black oval bases that you can buy 10 for a penny on AliExpress and eBay. So if you really want to show him off with the Mr. Matt on there, you can, but let's be honest, you'd rather this said Daredevil. Mr. Matt, just nah, you wouldn't pose it with that on there. They should have just saved their time and effort into trying to improve those billy clubs, if I'm honest. And then he comes with 2 fisted gloved hands that he's got on already and 2 gripping gloved hands, and these for him to hold the billy clubs, and they're quite nice. I think the details are pretty good. I like the sort of details on the knuckles there. He looks like he's ready for a fight. Yeah, not bad. And he also comes with 2 fisted hands, 1 ungloved gripping hand and 2 relaxed hands. And one of the issues I've got is that the gripping hand is just one. It's on his left hand. That's probably where he's supposed to grip the mask with it. But also, it's a different colour to all the other hands that he comes with. It's not super obvious, but you can kind of tell one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong, and it's that one. And he obviously doesn't actually come with a stand. This is one of my stands that I made myself. Okay, and in some of the promo pics I did notice that there was a backdrop, and I didn't see any in the box. The only thing is this cardboard thing here, which is like covers over the foam, but it is the thinnest piece of card you will ever see. I don't see this being the backdrop. If it is, that's really poor form. It doesn't even look like the original backdrop they were teasing, so that's really disappointing. You're not going to use this as a backdrop. It's too flimsy, it's too crap, so just forget you were even offered that in the first place. Okay, so now that we've seen the accessories, let's have a look at the figure himself. And he has a very nice masked head sculpt on. I think you agree. It's all sculpted. It's not like fabric or material or anything. But with the face mostly covered, it hides all the inaccuracies of the unmasked head sculpt. And he comes with a little knot at the back that's real fabric, so it can be posed around. It's painted quite nicely. Again, the 5 o'clock shadow could have been better, but it's not too bad. And then we come down and see the body, and the body is just like, it's quite a heavy-ish rubbery body. And because of the lycra top, having a decent rubber body underneath does make him look a little bit more realistic. And there's also paint flecking on the rubber body to match the face, which is quite nice. I really like the fabric that this top is made out of. It's just stretchy lycra, so that's going to be really nice to pose with. However, I'm not too happy about the red piping around here. The problem I have with it is that it's such a faded sort of off colour red that it just looks like it's been in the sun too long. It would look better if they'd given us just sort of like a dark or bright red all the way through, and that way it wouldn't look so faded. I know he's supposed to be stealth and it's supposed to be dark, and you know the colours are probably going to be a bit more muted. The colour choice that they went with just makes it look a little bit faded. But there's more detail in the top than I thought there would be. I didn't actually expect there to be grey panels in the sides here, and the actual fabric is black, and then they've just sort of screen printed the grey on top. And they've also screen printed the red piping. And that, again, that probably could have gone with 2 passes to thicken up that red a little bit and make it look a little bit more brighter and pop. But I really like the details down here. He's got these sort of forearm sleeves on there. And they've got some sort of honeycomb pattern in there. And this is separate from the rest of the sleeve here. So there's about 3 layers there. There's the lycra top, there's the elbow pad type thing, and then there's these forearm sleeves here, and he's got the fisted gloves on. One of the extra things they could have done was actually get some hands with the ropes wrapped around them, and maybe some ropes wrapped around the forearms, so that he looks like he's fighting in the corridor scene in, I think it's episode 2 of season 1. That would have been fantastic. But yeah, they missed the trick there. Then coming down, he's got a really nice sort of confident belt buckle there. It's not going to flake or anything like that because it is just simple fabric. The holes are quite nicely punched into the belt there. And I quite like the trousers as well. They look quite comfortable, but they also look like he can be posed in there quite nicely. And I've also put the billy clubs on. And I'm pretty sure he carries them on his left leg, so that's where I've put them. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. But again, the trousers are very nicely stitched. Pockets are showing quite well. Coming down into the boots, these let it down a little bit simply because it's one big plastic boot. There's no articulation around the ankles. It does turn left and right, but it is fixed. The detail's okay in them. There's different textures up the top here than there is on the side. The shoelaces look a bit thick and plasticky. They're reasonable detail, however, they're not going to be winning any awards anytime soon. Okay, so I'm trying to pose this guy up, and there's a few bits that niggle me, like articulation wise, because they've used this rubber body, it looks really good, but it does restrict movement a little bit. I'm trying to use the butterfly joint, but it bounces back like that. But there is a sort of like a ratchet in the back there, so it can pull back a little bit better. But going forward, getting him into like a close contact, sort of close quarters fighting stance, it's a little bit more difficult. And yeah, there's a 90-degree bend in the arm, but it's not double jointed, it's single jointed. To have restrictions in the actual 1/6 scale body underneath is a bit of a disappointment because you're not utilizing that fabric to its fullest potential. Bringing the arms up, they sort of drop down a little bit after a while. There is some nice flex in the neck, however, the plastic bit inside the neck can pop out, so you've got to push it back down when you finish posing him. Otherwise, he's going to look like he's got a giraffe neck. Torso-wise, he can bend okay. He can bend forward about that much, and he does have some nice torso swivel. Legs go out about that far. Feet can come up quite high. There is thigh swivel. There is a double bend in the knee, but it doesn't bend as much as I thought it would do. I would have thought he'd be able to get his heel back up to his butt a little bit more. Leg goes back about that far. There is ankle rotation, but there's barely to no pivot. Another slight issue with these billy clubs is they've used too small a dowel rod. So when you're putting it in the hand, it can just fall through the hand like that. So you're going to have to be careful posing this guy up. You might have to warm the hands up to push him in and tighten them up a little bit. But you shouldn't have to do that. I'll be honest with you, you definitely, most of us, I'd say, will make better billy clubs than the ones you get with the figure. Okay, and here he is just posed up a little bit. Again, it's a little bit restrictive without that ankle pivot. It's very hard to get him into super actiony poses, but he poses okay for the price you're paying. And that's where the caveat comes in with this figure. For the price, he's just okay. They could have blown us away with a little bit more. Maybe some ankle pivot with some real fabric boots would have helped. However, they probably would have been pleather, and we know how that goes in the long run. So technically, this is probably going to be a longer lasting figure. I'm not a humongous fan of the red piping. I think it's faded. They could have done a second pass at it, made it a little bit brighter. I know it's supposed to be sort of a darker figure, and you know, in fact, a lot of the images of him through the TV show when he was wearing this suit, a lot of people couldn't even tell he had that red piping on there. I didn't even know he had grey panels underneath. I just thought it was an entirely black lycra suit up top, but I do like the actual grey panels underneath. It breaks all the black up a little bit. My main gripes are that the dowel rods don't fit in the hands very well. The lycra isn't used to its best potential because the rubber body underneath restricts movement, which is an absolute shame. But the body is actually the restriction, not the fabric. The hands are okay. Again, one of the hands is a different colour to all the rest, which is a letdown. The unmasked head sculpt is, yeah, it's a bit underwhelming. It's a good option, but I just don't think it stands up next to, you know, your Hot Toys and your Blitzways and things like that. So if you're posing him with all your Marvel characters, yeah, people might be able to notice that it's not as good as those. The lack of ankle pivot is one of the most disappointing bits, because he is a sort of brawler, he's a street fighter, and he should be able to get into loads of like action fighting stances, but the ankles restrict how far the legs can go out without it looking clumsy and awkward. And here he is with the unmasked head sculpt on, and he's just gripping the mask in that hand. And it's fine, if you use this, then the hand ain't going to be that noticeable. However, it is a little bit more sort of tanned and yellow than the rest of the skin tone up here. So you can either find another hand that will work just as well, or you might just have to accept that the hand colour is a little bit different to the rest of the skin tones on the body. Overall, it's a competent release. I can't say it's a great release because there's a few things that they missed that maybe they should have done. Maybe a bit of battle damage on that unmasked head sculpt would have been cool. A little bit of blood running down the side of his mouth. He would have looked like he'd just come out of a fight and he just pulled the mask off and he's taking a breather. Again, they could have probably done the same to this. A little bit of blood around the mouth or something like that would have given him a really nice effect. And here he is finally in sort of like a boxer brawler stance. Unfortunately, the arms do not allow you to bring the fists closer into the body, which is a shame because that's what you need to do with boxing. He also doesn't have any bicep swivel, so any turn of the arm comes at the elbow, which can actually make the arm look a little bit unnatural when you turn it in certain ways. I am tempted to go get another body and see if I can't swap that out to make him a little bit more posable, because I would like to be able to get those fists in a little closer to the body. And I do think with maybe some material boots, he'll actually have a lot more sort of ankle articulation so that you can actually get him into some really cool dynamic poses. So it's a really nice looking figure, only let down by the stock rubber body that they've used that restricts movement, the ankles, and the kind of faded printing around the suit that lets it down a little bit. Bottom line is, you get what you pay for, but not a damn thing more. Before you think he is completely unposable, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that he could have been even more posable if they had chosen a different kind of body. It's not the end of the world. You can see you can have some quite cool action poses, but the potential was there for Hot Heart to knock it out of the park. I have to be honest, I am surprised that there weren't that many third-party companies that jumped on the design of this character, because it's actually quite an easy one for them to do. It's not going to tax them very much. It's just a new head sculpt that's mostly covered by a face mask and some stretchy lycra tops and some combat trousers and boots, which they can do with their eyes closed. And he is going to look nice on the shelf. He's just not going to blow you away when you get him in hand. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you could do me a favour now, if you can get the fuck out of my cave. I'm going to see if I can squeeze this guy onto my Marvel shelf without breaking it. Bye bye guys.